Isobel was worried that she might faint while she was waiting for Frank in Wagon Court, an alley that ran off Sheaf Street. She could not stand still. She flitted from one side of the alley to the other, her heart missing a beat every time someone passed by. She fiddled with the ribbons on her purse until they were crumpled and grimy. If he doesn't come soon, I shall, well, I don't know what I will do, but I won't bear it. I simply can't. What will I do? What will I do? I shouldn't be here at all. Gracious, if Mamma knew. But I won't think of that. Oh, I wish he would come. I think I will die if he doesn't come. She muttered to herself in a subdued frenzy, hoping that nobody, except Mr. Douglas, would choose to walk up the lane. She had just turned away, frightened that some people she knew were about to walk through the alley and discover her and engage in conversation. So when she heard footsteps behind her, she pretended to be on her way to the other end. A hand caught her own, and she gasped, turning to find Mr. Douglas beaming in front of her. Miss Brite, forgive me for my lateness. It is extremely impolite to keep a young lady waiting, but it took so much longer to persuade the old man than I thought. Isobel couldn't speak. She looked down at the ground, wondering if he would catch her as she swooned. Her heart seemed to have stopped beating. I have succeeded in my mission, Miss Brite. At least I have secured a meeting for you with with Mr. Jackman. Tomorrow at 3. Isobel tried to take in this information. Tomorrow? At 3. Are you free? Oh, please say that you are. I feel sure that he will decide to take you on the moment he sees you. Isobel thought quickly. Perhaps she could complain of a headache again and ask to go out for fresh air. I think so. But what do I do? Oh, bless me, I nearly forgot. I have a copy of the part you are to read. Ophelia. Can you feign madness? Isobel felt quite sure at that moment that she could, without acting. She nodded slowly. But must I learn all this? There is so much. Don't worry. You may read from the page, but perhaps if you learn some of it, you will show him how quickly you can learn. That will put you in good reckoning. Isobel flicked through the pages and recognised some of the words from the play the other night. Perhaps she could remember how the actress said the lines and copy her. Frank was watching her. She flushed and looked up. Oh, Mr. Douglas, you have been so kind. Oh, please do not mention it, Miss Brite. The pleasure is entirely mine, believe me. He was standing very close to her, far too close for decorum. She could actually feel his breath on her cheek. Why had Cassie tied her corset so tight this morning? She felt she could hardly breathe. Was it her imagination, or was he moving even closer? Mr. Douglas, I have to go. My mother. He sighed, as if he too had been holding his breath, and as though a spell had been broken. She began to move away, though he was slightly blocking her path, and it was necessary to almost touch him to pass. Frank did not move, but remained in front of her, his eyes watching her intently, almost hungrily. Until tomorrow, then, Miss Brite. She bowed slightly. Mr. Douglas? But as she moved towards the end of the lane, he called her name again. She turned and saw his tall, sturdy figure silhouetted against the light from the other side. Excitement rose in her throat. Miss Brite, can you dance? Can I beg your pardon? Can you dance and sing? Why, yes, a little. Good. Tomorrow, then, at 3. He turned and walked back up the lane, and Isobel half walked, half ran back to the shop, and with a hurried, "Good evening, Papa," ran through to the back, up the stairs and into her room, where she shut the door and leaned back on it, clutching the script in one hand and her head in the other. My goodness, she said to herself. And for a good 10 minutes after that, she repeated those words over again, for she was unable to think or say anything else.